Hey everyone, you're tuned into InfoQuench with Jeff.
And Amy. Join us as we talk about anything.
And everything.
All the stuff that makes life interesting.
So let's get to it. Hey everybody, and welcome to InfoQuench. I'm your host, Jeff.
And I'm Amy.
And we're here for another podcast. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Are we? What are we here for?
Are we going to talk at the...
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So, this is... Can
Yeah, you go ahead.
This is part 2 of Unsolicited Advice.
Yes.
If you remember, if you listened to part 1, if you didn't, make sure you check it out. But Kevin Kelly, who is an editor with Wired Magazine, put together a blog post on some great advice he's received over his lifetime. And in celebration of his 68th birthday, he shared 68 bits of unsolicited advice. We're not covering them all in our episodes, but we are going through quite a few of them and just using them for a base of discussion, I guess, and talking about whether or not we actually agree with them.
If you listened to the previous podcast, there was some pretty lively discussion about some of these things that he came up with.
So let's jump right back into it.
Let's do it. Let's jump right back in.
The first one I have.
Yeah.
Trust me, there is no them.
There is no. It sounds like what's his name from House of Cards. That's what you said that.
Kevin Spacey?
Yeah, Kevin Spacey's character anyway.
Well, we often say that, right? We blame it on them, everybody but us.
It's true. It's
so
true.
There is, that's often who are they? Who is it that says this or gives that piece of advice or so
basically that one is just
we
saying
are them.
take ownership for your mistakes and issues in your life.
The next bit of advice is the more you are interested in others, the more interesting they find you. To be interesting, be interested.
That's true. Yeah, I notice that people really pay attention when you are listening acutely to what they're saying, what they're trying to tell you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've had conversations with people before when you really could sense that they were not taking
into
in.
it.
Not taking in, didn't really care what you were saying. They were just really going through the, motions of a conversation or...
What were you just saying, though? Yeah, I'm trying to be all meta. But
I mean, that's particularly difficult if you are having a conversation with somebody and you're really, trying to get to know someone, maybe being vulnerable, revealing some things about yourself, and you don't get that sense that they're even interested in what you're saying. So
that's pretty frustrating when you're having a conversation and it's a one-sided conversation. You can tell when you're talking to somebody and they're really just not listening to what you're saying. They're not interested and they're not listening. They're just zoned right out.
Yes.
People do that all the time, actually, that I've noticed with their phones. Like a friend of mine, when I try to talk to him at work, I don't know who this friend is, but...
we'll see if he listens to this podcast.
He doesn't even know I do a podcast. And I've told him 1,000 times. That's the thing. He doesn't listen. But anyway, yeah, people just, what was that? You finished saying this whole 2 or 3 sentences, hey, did you see what blah, blah, Trump did today? Blah, 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 blah. And then they're looking at their phone and it's like, what did you say? What? And I don't even really want to repeat myself half the time.
Yeah, so I can see how conversation is very much a two-way game.
It truly is.
And to be...
We've lost a lot of that.
You should be interested.
We've lost a lot of that as people, I feel, since technology has stepped in. I know you can go back and say, oh, yeah, but you can blame that on the telephone. And before that, oh, yeah, you can blame that on Morse code. But, I'm just saying.
Are people blaming things on Morse code?
They really are, honey. It's a epidemic. Yeah.
People used to talk, and now they're just...
Beep, 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 beep.
It's interesting.
Translate that, loyal listeners.
You went with the beeps, and I went with the...
Oh, yeah, true.
I don't know what that says about a personality. Next bit of
advice...
It says
you're wrong, and I'm right.
Next bit of advice is to optimize your generosity. No one on their deathbed has ever regretted giving too much away.
Well, yeah, I guess. If you're on your deathbed and you have, 2, $1 trillion mansions, you're just gonna
unless your kids are you're on your deathbed because we poisoned you because you gave away all our inheritance,
which happens. That happens.
So that person would regret having given too much away.
That's true.
But
That's
no, I
true.
think the spirit of that advice is very much true. That giving, and oftentimes I've heard if you give away, or give to charity, it'll come back to you two or threefold.
That also exemplifies the fact that worldly possessions are not actual things. They are like the people who are close to you, family, love, all that, stuff you can't buy.
Speaking of things coming back to you, so I was walking up the middle of the street on my way to work a couple of days ago, and Jeff knows this story, but
I'll pretend I don't.
Okay.
Okay. What happened when you were walking up?
Yeah,
the
act
side?
interested.
Yeah. Oh, you were walking.
Well, because I don't walk on the side. We live uptown, and the sidewalk can be quite busy, so I tend to stick toward the median in the center.
Staying away from the people.
In the grass median. So I'm walking, and I glance down, and there's a $20 bill. It's just folded and sitting in the street, just kind of fluttering in the wind.
Yeah. What are you going to do with this? Are you going to have a special place for this $20 bill?
Well, it has a special place at the moment. So what happened was it was a little breezy, so I knew it was going to blow away quite quickly if I didn't. I stepped on it, but then I sort of looked around because I thought, did somebody just drop this? But I didn't really see anybody, and it's not, and with everything going on with the pandemic, I can't really run around and run up to people and ask them if they dropped it.
Exactly.
So I glanced around, and I didn't see anybody who looked like they had dropped it, and there really wasn't even anyone in the immediate vicinity. But then I was standing there like, is this a test? Is this $20 bill riddled with COVID? And if I pick it up out of greed, am I going to be then infected? These are the thoughts that went through my mind.
Well, that's just the way you think.
And then I thought, you know what? I got hand sanitizer in my pocket. So I picked up the $20 bill and I put it in a little used pocket of my backpack. And it is still there in quarantine for a few days until anything that was on it dies. And I used some hand sanitizer and I went on with my day.
Is it a ratty $20 bill or is it?
No, it's a new one, nice crispy
newish
one.
Yeah, nice crispy. Wow.
Like it was folded, but it wasn't even creased. It was just kind of.
It's kind of wisping in the wind.
Wisping in the wind.
Like when was the last time you found money besides that moment?
Oh, aside from like a nickel or a dime that I just sort of left it there.
Yeah.
That's pretty, I mean, well, uptown I don't pick it up because I figure there's somebody else who would need it more than I do.
Isn't it kind of strange though that you don't really find pennies anymore? They just went away.
Yeah, that's
They're
true.
in hiding.
But even the silver money, I just find that because we do live in a city that there are people who are, less fortunate than we are. I just leave it there because I figure somebody.
You know what you should do with that $20 bill? Is you should give it to someone who needs it more than you do.
But the thing is, I can't even walk up to somebody to give it to them.
You can put it down on the ground and say, this is for you, and then walk away, and they go over and pick it up.
I know, but what if I am asymptomatic and I then just given somebody the virus?
Well, I would say...
Maybe I put some gloves on.
Yeah. Like, let's just go through this. How could you do that? How could you give a $20 bill to someone who really needs it on the street?
We'll figure it out, but for now, let's get...
Okay, we could do the whole podcast about that, couldn't we? I know people would love to hear that.
Though I should, because the $20 bill is not mine.
It wasn't meant for you. I mean, you found it, so it is meant for you that way, but it's not meant for you to spend.
No.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a good idea.
Okay, I will give an update on our next episode of what I've done with that $20 bill.
Yeah.
In a non-COVID transmitted fashion.
Yeah.
Okay. To make something good, just do it. To make something great, just redo it, redo it, redo it. The secret to making fine things is in remaking them.
Oh, that is so true, especially when it comes to writing. The whole idea of writing really well is to re-edit your thoughts and your words and, into something really concise rather than something that's just rattled off. Although Jack Kerouac, was one of the beat writers, had this school of thought called the spontaneous, he believed in writing in a spontaneous fashion.
Like sort of a stream of consciousness?
Yes, stream of consciousness, and the first thought is the correct thought, is the whole philosophy behind that. And I find both really interesting schools of thought. I'll just say.
Well, I think it's important to use that stream of consciousness concept to get your thoughts initially down on paper.
Yeah.
But then refining it. It depends. I guess sometimes the raw is good.
Well,
But
I know there are certain writing exercises where you're supposed to basically unclog your thoughts by just writing whatever comes to your mind until the real meat and potatoes comes out in the words, in order to, like, get to the crux of what it is you're trying to say. You have to, like, unclog all these drains to get there. You know what I mean? And so there's another idea of re-editing and stuff.
all right, so we agree. That's a good one.
That is a good one.
The golden rule will never fail you. It is the foundation. It is the foundation of all other virtues.
Yeah, do unto others as
Yes.
you would like done unto you, or something like that.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
That is one that I
It's
think
true.
we learn as kids, and I can't think of a time. Well, there might be a time.
That's why this.
I always try to think of an exception to every rule, but no, I think that definitely is a foundation for all other virtues.
In the current, like, racial climate of the United States and stuff that's happening right now, like, that's what I don't understand. I don't understand why people can't just be good to one another like you would want to be, you want to be treated. Like, I just don't. I mean, it's not just the United States, it's Canada, it's everywhere, but I'm just saying, like, it's beyond me. It's actually really been on my mind a lot. Like, I've been thinking about it, like, what is it that, like, causes people to do these kinds of things? I know we're getting off on topic, but, like, it's
no, and I mean that's the whole part of talking about these little bits of advice is to contemplate them in a deeper meaning.
What would
And I
happen
don't
if
know.
we all followed that advice? Like, what would happen? What would happen to our society?
But there is a balance in nature always, isn't there? And people are products of their environment. So
Yeah.
who's to say that if we were brought up in a similar environment that we wouldn't do a certain thing that,
Yeah, that has been done before. Or whatever, right. Yeah.
Whereas I can,
There's those old psychological experiments where, like, a regular person would give somebody a electric shock that would actually kill them. Do you remember that? Do you remember seeing that?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I was just
right, but it would be fake. But they
it
would
would be
think,
fake, but they would think that they would actually, if you press that button, you could kill this person.
Well, that reminds me. There's a story of there's a woman and she's training to be in the FBI.
Right.
And they tell her, as part of your training, you have to go in, and there's a man in the room, and you have to shoot him. That's a direct order, and that's part of.
Sounds like Silence of the Lambs.
I know it does, right?
Yeah.
And she goes in, and she just realizes like, it's her husband in the room.
Ooh, I've never
Right?
heard of this experiment. They're really pushing it.
Well, I know,
pushing the
and
whole
so
envelope
and there's
there.
a gun on the table, and she has to make the decision.
Right.
And they're so it's they hear a lot of banging going on in there, and they don't know what's going on, what the commotion is, and then she comes back out, and they're like, well, what happened? And she said, well, it was really hard. She said, I went to shoot him, but somebody put blanks in the gun, so I had to beat him to death with a chair.
Whoa, jeez.
It's a joke.
I did not see that coming at all. No, I didn't.
Am I getting better
I
at my
didn't-
joke delivery?
Well, that was pretty good. It was a little dark of a joke for you. I never heard you say such dark jokes. But, I mean,
I'm a
you got
horrible
me.
joke teller, so
You
I
got me. so-
Okay, well, I was.
No, that was good.
It was just such a good lead-in. I couldn't not
was-
tell
it was
the
a good
joke.
lead-in.
It was a natural fit for.
See what these words of advice are doing for us. Oh, my goodness. Beats him with it.
So she got into the FBI and in jail. No, anyways, yeah, completely a joke.
Hello, Clarice.
She did not really beat her husband to death with a chair, because she does not exist. She is them. There is no them. So the next
Full
bit of
circle.
advice: if you're looking for something in your house and you finally find it, when you're done with it, don't put it back where you found it. Put it back where you first looked for it.
Yeah, I wish I did that with my keys.
This
It's
is
so
a good
funny.
piece
I
of
lose
advice.
my keys all the time, but they're never actually lost. They're all in one of 4 different places, and I always find them. So they're never really lost.
Why not just have a key place? I have a key place.
Yeah, I have a key place now. You put like a piece of Tupperware in the hallway that I throw everything in now.
Yes.
But look, here's my keys right
So
here.
if you want to come rob us, all our keys.
and
are-
I'm not anywhere near the Tupperware right now.
I know. And they're supposed to be sanitized because your keys are.
Right.
That's why the Tupperware is there, so they can be COVID sanitized.
COVID free.
But it makes sense, though, if you are looking for something, you naturally go to the place that's the most intuitive to keep that item. So why not put it back there? And the next time, you'll find it straight away.
Yeah.
All right.
What number? Oh, we're not numbered.
No,
This
we're
is
not
just-
numbered. We're just flying by the seat of our pants. I
Yeah.
didn't want the stress of numbers.
I have to say that this concept with this list or these words of advice are really great, like for conversation starters and stuff. So
Yeah,
if
not
you're
that you
trying to
and I
get-
have a shortage of things to say at any point.
No, but like, you know, if you're trying to get to know your significant other and you just met or whatever, ask these questions to one another, and you know, or if you've known somebody for years and have never really spoken to one another, then start with this.
I always love this stuff. It's like quotes. I love great
You do love
quotes, like
quotes.
quotable quotes, and I love great life advice that you
Speaking
can
of
pass along to
which,
your kids or.
If you want to read some really wonderful quotes, head to our Instagram page because Amy is just
Oh, I
the
love
quote queen.
I love taking beautiful photography.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's shots that that we've taken. Or other times I'll make sure it's a zero Creative Commons so that I'm not infringing any copyright. But then I'll pair it with a great quote and make a little meme out of it and
Yeah.
post it. I just love quotes.
Yeah, you do.
They're so inspiring. They say so much with so little.
Yeah.
When it kind of goes back to that bit of advice about redoing something, redoing it,
Yeah.
I would think with quotes that's often done because they are so concise.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
and precise in the messaging.
Well, every word means something, right? Just like really great poetry is the same kind of. I feel is created the same way.
The next one. Saving money and investing money are both good habits. Small amounts of money invested regularly for decades without deliberation is one path to wealth. Well, this is something that I remember learning early
Yeah,
on, that
me too.
the power of compound interest.
Yes, I remember
I was actually
this.
trying to explain it to Hux. I think even people who don't take a lot of our son Huxley. I know you know who Hux is, but I was just in case
Well, yeah.
we had a new listener who didn't know who Hux
Hux
was.
who? Hux who? What?
But I think even people who haven't done a lot in terms of educating themselves on investing, I think one of the fundamental things that we all learn is the power of compound interest and starting to invest early. So I think that's a great piece of advice.
Well, you know, it's funny. The very first time I ever met with a bank, manager or whatever about opening up an account, they had this really great delivery where it was like, do you realize if you put in $20 from your check at Pizza Hut, every single check, by the time you're 60, you'll be a millionaire.
So you-
and I,
you're almost a millionaire?
I was like, wow, really? And then I just didn't do it. So that's, I mean, I'm not probably the only one out there.
So you're
listening.
it's the difference between you, like my first full-time job. And I remember, it
Yeah.
wasn't a big salary. My first I worked since I was 15, but my first full-time job at a university, when I guess officially started my career,
Yeah.
I straight away went and started investing.
I didn't even have a credit card.
And I
before
remember
met
it
you.
wasn't $20, but I think it was $25
Yeah.
a paycheck, a very small amount, and thinking that, and that for me at that time was a lot of money. It was a
Yeah.
big portion of what I was making, but.
Yeah, it's
Anyway.
an interesting. It's a.
But
it's
I
a good
remember
delivery.
that messaging around compound interest.
Yeah.
So now I'm a billionaire, honey. That's my announcement.
You never even. I don't even know this. You're just telling me now.
Yes.
Wow.
All right. I really like this one. To make mistakes is human. To own your mistakes is divine. Nothing
Yeah.
elevates a person higher than quickly admitting and taking personal responsibility for the mistakes you make and then fixing them fairly. If you mess up, fess up. It's astounding how powerful this ownership is.
It really is. When you make a mistake, you just say, "Look, I screwed up. I'm sorry," and I'll.
And as long as you're not repeating the same mistake over and over again, and your apology or your admission
be
or
sincere.
your recognition is sincere
Yeah,
and
oh,
genuine,
absolutely.
I think it's difficult for people to then
You can't just say
punish you
sorry about that. It'll never
or
happen again.
berate you for that mistake because you're acknowledging it yourself. And that's
Everybody makes
something
mistakes.
I think that I very readily admit more so now than I did it in my younger years.
Yeah.
I think
But you can't use the example like what Jax does on Vanderpump Rules, where he's like, "I'm just having a bad day."
yeah,
And
like
then-
every day.
You're having a bad life, pal. Like, every decision you make is horrible.
That jacks.
Anyway, I'm just saying, you gotta sincerely, fess up to making a mistake. We all have problems with that, but I mean, when you get a handle on it, it makes your life a lot easier, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and I think most people know when you've made a mistake. So what's the point in even hiding it?
Yeah.
Unless you can really hide it really, really well.
That's right.
Yeah. In an offshore account.
Right. Like your million or billion
so that it builds compound interest. Never get involved in a land war in Asia. I love this. I love this one thrown in there randomly because it's also a quote from The Princess Bride.
Is it? Okay.
Yes.
Explain to me. I know. I think I saw The Princess Bride for the first time because you made me watch it.
I actually don't even know the background behind that and where
okay.
that comes, or whether that is actually just
Yeah.
him pulling that quote. I don't know. I mean, Asia, perhaps it's very difficult to monitor your borders in Asia. I don't really know a lot about strategic
Next.
military strategy in war, so it would be pure speculation. I just think it should just stop at never get involved in a land war. Anywhere. Just how about never get involved in a war?
If you're gonna have a war, go to sea
All right.
or the air.
You can obsess
space.
about serving your customers, audience, clients, or you can obsess about beating the competition. Both work, but of the two, obsessing about your customers will take you further. And that's
Right.
true. I think
Happy
most
customers will keep coming back.
those are the companies you remember, right? The ones that focus on customer
Yep.
satisfaction,
They
and
keep
that will
coming
make you
back.
successful.
And you have a successful business, right? I absolutely agree. A case in point, a lot of local businesses here in St. John pivoted when COVID-19 hit, and they kept their customers. And their customers are going to keep coming back when things flatten,
Well, that's right, and they
curve
didn't rush to
flattens.
reopen before they ensured that they had everything that was
Yeah.
in place to keep their customers safe
like
and
the
their,
art
and
warehouse.
their employees safe.
They came up with the idea that gift certificates and coupons and stuff for after it's all over, you could go in and use it at their business, and it worked great.
Yeah, and I think that's still a great way to support a lot of businesses
Yeah.
that are in the process of reopening. So if
Hazel
you are
did a
looking to
good job there for sure.
help your local businesses along,
Mhm.
look into the many options, the creative options that are out there, because there are a lot of ways to
Mm-hmm.
help people keep afloat during this hard time.
Absolutely.
This next one I'm not 100% sure I agree with. Show up, keep showing up. Somebody successful said 99% of success is just showing up. I don't know if I agree with that, because
Yeah, I
Like,
know.
there are people who just show up for their jobs, and then what was the line you always said if there's time to lean, there's time to clean?
Time to lean, time to clean. Yeah.
You're just showing up and leaning. I don't
Yeah,
know if
you-
that's going to lead to a
Very
99% success.
Very good
rate.
analogy, because not everybody is into their job, and not everybody has a good work ethic. I know you have a wonderful work ethic that I have learned from. Actually, I've learned that from you. I mean, I knew that it was important to have a work ethic, and I have one, but mine is stronger thanks to you. Is what I.
Oh,
guess.
really?
Oh, for sure.
That's a nice compliment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, the compliments are coming again in part 2
Yeah.
of this,
Compliments
this
everywhere.
episode. I'll take
But
it.
It's important, because you know what? That's being noticed when you don't even realize it.
Well, I think it's one of the important things about having a great work ethic is your kids notice it. And I think that's one of the benefits that, during this time, I've spent some time working from my home and in combination with working from the office. So, but during the time at home, our son actually gets to see me work and
Sees what
has
you
a
do.
has a better understanding of what
Right.
I do, and understands the importance of,
Yeah.
having to concentrate on your work and yeah, so I think that's sort of an added benefit that we're
fundamental.
teaching our kids something that they would not otherwise have seen. They're seeing our
Yeah.
strong work ethic during this difficult time, where a lot of times they just see us go out the door off to some, faraway workplace that they
It's a
may never
fundamental thing
never
for
set
a
eyes
human
on.
being to learn, and the earliest that they learn it, the better.
So when we don't have time to homeschool them because we're all trying to do full-time jobs while we, also are homeschooling, hopefully they're learning a little bit from us just by watching our work ethic. That's what I like to tell myself when the mum guilt
really,
sets
though,
in.
it doesn't matter what they learn. All we have to do is show up, honey.
Yeah, just keep showing up.
Just show up.
All right. If you are not falling down occasionally, you are just coasting.
Yeah, I think you need the hard knocks to learn the ropes of life.
Well, I think it's, you need to take some risks, right? And with risks, there are times when you'll have some failures. And
some of the most successful business people of the world completely failed.
Well, probably
and
almost
got
most
themselves
of them.
back up, right? And
you just need to get up one more time, then you fell down, and you've succeeded.
Yeah, it's true.
Perhaps the most counterintuitive truth of the universe is that the more you give to others, the more you'll get. Understanding this is the beginning of wisdom. And that's funny because we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, we were.
It is true. When you do give, you get back.
You do. You do. I feel like if you are complimentary to someone, like say if someone's an artist and you're a wonderful artist, if you happen to draw a picture at some point, like they remember that and they say, hey, good job, and all that is cyclical, I find,
Friends are better than money. Almost anything money can do, friends can do better. In so many ways, a friend with a boat is better than owning a boat.
Or a truck, right? Because a lot of people...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, a lot of people...
That's an interesting one. I think that's kind of... It's a little cheeky, isn't it? I mean...
It is a little cheeky.
If you do have a... Yeah. Nobody wants to be the friend who has a truck, because then you're just moving everybody and moving all of their
If
things.
you're a nice guy, if you're
maybe,
a jerk,
I
you'd be
suppose.
like, yeah, I got the truck, you don't. Meh, meh, meh. There are people
I feel like that happened more like when we were in our 20s and people were always moving from apartments and different houses, and that's when I think the friends with the trucks really
that's not happening as much, eh?
No, I think now people have, now you're renting a U-Haul. Okay. This is true. So says
true.
Kevin Kelly.
Okay.
It's hard to cheat an honest man.
It's hard to cheat. Yeah. You're right. But
what does that mean? Does that mean it's actually technically hard to cheat an honest man? Or does it mean that if you're trying to cheat somebody who's honest, you'll be so guilt-ridden that it's just it's a difficult thing to carry out?
That's an ethical conundrum there, I think.
It is.
Happening.
It's to me, it's hard. If somebody puts their trust in you, to betray that trust is...
Kind of don't come back from that, do you?
No.
And so it's a big decision to make. But also, if someone's really honest, it's hard to really betray their trust because they're a good person. It's hard to do things like that to a good person. It's, from person to person, but I like a corporation or something that's faceless can do it, no problem.
So, this next one is a little bit similar to one of the ones that we discussed, but separate the processes of creation from improving. You can't write and edit, or sculpt and polish, or make and analyze at the same time. If you do, the editor stops the creator. While you invent, don't select. While you sketch, don't inspect. While you write the first draft, don't reflect. At the start, the creator mind must be unleashed from judgment.
I don't know about that one at all.
Well, really, because I feel like it fits quite similarly to when we were talking about writing earlier, where you initially just get your thoughts on paper without judgment. You basically unload.
That's just another process to the means, though, to me. Like, if you're drawing a picture and you're not reflecting on what you're drawing, a large part of the heart of your drawing will be gone. If you're just throwing something out there on paper until you're done, that's not right, That's my feelings.
I don't know. I think of writing. I often would I do a lot of thinking before I put pen to paper when I'm writing something, whether it's for work or for, just personal journaling or whatever. So I tend to want to get it close to the finished product at the beginning. And that's more of an efficiency thing, but maybe not the best from an artistic perspective.
It's whatever works for you, really.
Well, that looks like the end of part 2 for us.
Yeah.
Because we're coming up on 29 minutes. I still got a whole lot of this stuff to go through, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. So I think we need to have a part 3. So let's do it up.
Let's do it up. See you next podcast, everybody.
Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.
And remember, you can catch up on past episodes at infoquench.com.
Or just about anywhere else you get your podcasts.
Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
And help spread the word about InfoQuench.
Till next time.